Hello there. Thanks for joining. Welcome. We'll start here in just a few minutes, I guess. So,
yeah, we're just all pouring in from the social togetherness time, so maybe give it another minute or so.
Okay, good. Thanks, Rena. Now, Rena's the one, Lori, that actually started this whole thing. So
that's amazing. Just amazing.
Let's see, we should try to continue this moving forward in the future. It's a great way to raise funds, right? And a great educational tool, Rena. So thanks for offering that.
And really, I've been connecting with so many amazing women through this that, and I've met the owner of Sue Talks. It's like TED Talks for women. I've connected very closely with the president of the California Women's Conference, and so through this, we're really connecting people in a deeper way. And another thing is, when we're all on stage, we don't get to talk to the audience so much. So I'm seeing networking being made in these small sessions where people can actually Q&A with the presenters. And it's really powerful what this platform can do.
Excellent. Yes, it's just amazing. So with that being said, because it's 16 after the hour, I am going to go ahead and get started. First, I'll introduce myself. I'm Kimberly Lane, and thank you for all of you for participating in Well Crown on the Wellness Fair. It's going to a wonderful cause that I am very passionate about, and I know the hosts of the Wellness Fair are as well. Unfortunately, during this pandemic, suicides and child abuse and domestic violence has gone up substantially. I think the numbers are such that 30% of children, there's an increase in child abuse during this pandemic. And your attendance today is really helping to help those individuals, those children, their precious hearts, and maybe save them from a very destructive situation. So with that being said, we'll get started. Before I jump into the presentation, can I just get a show of hands via the chat box about who is feeling alone or isolated? Maybe you weren't feeling so much before COVID-19, but are feeling now during COVID-19, or maybe just you've just been having an ongoing feeling of just feeling isolated and alone despite being with other people. Anybody want to comment in the chat box about how you feel? Yes, I think definitely, especially now during this pandemic, we all feel a degree of isolation, right? So hopefully during our time together, I can make you feel a little bit more connected, a little more loved, and give you some guidance on some daily action steps you can do to help moving forward to feel more connection and help those you love, moms, grandmas, others that are isolated and by themselves. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen here. Hopefully we can all see that. So why do I feel so alone, and the secrets to connection? I'm passionate about this topic because I know from my own personal experience what it feels like to be alone, isolated.
Really,
yeah.
Are you sharing your screen? Because we can't see it.
Oh, thank you. Let me see. Let's see.
The little green button, it says share screen with an arrow.
There we go.
Perfect. Thank you.
See that now?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And if I do that, can you really see it? Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So I know from my own personal experience what it feels like, that rotten feeling in your stomach, or just that anxiety level that you have from being alone or disconnected. Unfortunately, I had some early childhood trauma at 10 years old that left me holding a secret for 24 years. That even though physically I was with my family, I was alone, isolated, and broken off. And I think today, so many of us might have personal situations that we're not facing, or we're hiding from others that can feel us feeling broken off or lonely and disconnected. So I'll be speaking to that today. Additionally, we're all isolated during this time. I'm a single person, so even more so being alone and not being able to connect with friends, I'm feeling isolated and alone now more than ever. And so many of us are now working remotely, where traditionally we had an organization to go to. So all these are contributing to just a feeling of disconnection, right? And hence why I started my company, the Kimberly Connection Company, because I'm really passionate about helping individuals through coaching and helping organizations by improving engagement and having, it's important for me to have employees feel like they have a place to go, a community place in the workplace, and they feel connected. And I also speak to help organizations and companies build better connections all over. So we're going to cover kind of why do I feel alone, the evolution of loneliness, secrets to connection, which I kind of addressed, and how we can build better connections with ourselves, and then also daily steps to improve connection. Obviously, during COVID-19, it's gotten worse, but I don't want to just focus on the now. I want to focus on the now and what we can do to continue to build more connection in our life. I like to call it the isolation epidemic. 47% of Americans say they feel alone, lonely, and disconnected. And this was even before COVID-19, unfortunately. And when I'm out speaking, I would literally say to somebody, look around you. The person next to you, it's either you or it's the person next to you. You're feeling alone and isolated. Give that person a hug. We can't do that right now, but we crave human touch. We need human touch and human connection as much as we need food and water. It's proven. Hopefully, none of you are feeling this, but I'm sure we all have felt this during this time and may still feel these effects of loneliness. Depression. I know in the very beginning of this epidemic, I was sleeping a lot. I was tired all the time because of anxiety, feeling lack of control. And for some people, when it gets that bad, where you get so depressed and you're, what I think, you become immobile. You're unable to actually pick up the phone and call somebody to help pick you up because you're that down in the dumps, right? And when it starts getting to that spiraling depths of isolation, like for our elderly that are alone and we can't visit them in a nursing home, I mean, it can get to the point where people want to be suicidal, and that's not good. So feeling alone is really a dramatic consequence on our lives and our well-being and those that we love. Taking a step to COVID-19, I think it's important to understand why this feels worse than any other crisis. When we had 9/11, we had uncertainty and we had a lack of control, but we had the ability to come together as family. We had the ability to come to church or hold candlelight vigils. We had the ability to hug each other and cry and hold each other. We don't have that opportunity if you're by yourself right now. You have your loved ones, if you have your family around, and that's great, but we're missing that power of connection during this isolation, which has added a whole nother layer of why there's so much anxiety and stress and why this pandemic is causing so much havoc. Kind of taking a step back from today in the pandemic, why has there been this evolution of loneliness? And there's a couple theories that I believe are happening. Do any of you remember the neighborhood block party? Those were fun times as a kid. You knew your neighbors, you had music blasting, you're playing games. We don't really do that anymore, right? And then the youth of today and the generations that follow, I don't see that they're congregating in a community or a spiritual setting as much, right? And then thirdly, we're all working from home a lot more. We're all remote. All of these are stepping us back from traditional ways of feeling connected. And as a result, what are individuals and the youth and generations of today now choosing to connect through? Facebook groups, Instagram communities, virtual chat rooms, Zoom meetings. They're having conversations with an inanimate object in order to totally try to connect through that inanimate object to another person. And it's not working. There was a study done in the Wall Street Journal called The Science of connection. And it was just recently published when all of us are on Zoom 8 hours a day, right? And they were talking about the fact that a baby was having its parent speak to them in a different language in person. And that baby learned the new language in the course of a month. They did the same experiment, but the baby was seeing their parent or guardian on Zoom. Baby learned nothing. And it's because when we're talking through digital technology, and don't get me wrong, digital technology, especially now, is enabling us to do this now, is enabling us to communicate and see people, but it is not a substitute for human connection. I'm gonna pause for a second because I see some questions coming in. Let's see what we're saying. Can we still not see your screen? Can you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah, we can see it. We were just saying, whoa, that's crazy that, you know, the kid learned a language in a month, but then over Zoom learned nothing.
It's really, you know, and I don't have any kids, unfortunately. I always wanted them, but I talk to parents and they're like, yeah, the only phone call my child gets for me is for me. They don't talk to their friends, they text. So the only voice interaction they really get on is from a parent. Otherwise, everybody's texting. You've seen it where kids are sitting in a room and they're all texting each other or somebody else, but not interacting together, right? I don't know, I'm out here in California, but there's a Jersey Mike's commercial, which makes me laugh because we're all seeking connection, and now everybody's looking at promoting connection. That's why Starbucks is so popular, because we can go get out of our homes and working by ourselves and go to a place where there's other people around to try to feel connected, but we're still on our technology, right? On the Jersey Mike's commercial, they're all sitting around on their technology, and then somebody texts the other person, hey, let's go to Jersey Mike's. Then the next scene is they're all at Jersey Mike's, phones are down finally, and they're all laughing and eating and having fun, right? That's what's needed, and that's what's missing. And so I ask, how many personal conversations are you having daily or weekly where you're picking up the phone? Why am I not able to go to the next slide? Let's see. So just, you know, kind of in reality here, I have a book that came out in February called The Connections Change Everything. And I devote an entire chapter to the power of technology. It's good in a lot of ways, but it's also, we're using it as a crutch for connection when it's really just interaction. Why? When we're using our phones and we're texting or emailing, it's illogical, it's irrational, and it's absent of emotion. It's a delayed response, and there's no energy exchange, and usually there's no eye contact, which is really, when we're in person with somebody, that eye contact and active listening is what creates the value in the energy exchange and makes us feel loved and warm and connected. And hence why when we're using digital technology, one, it's not immediate, two, it's absent of emotion. Versus when you get to human connections, again, emotion's all there. It's not logical, it's emotional. Voice fluctuations, eye contact, facial expressions, body language. That's an energy exchange that boosts your morale. I know Lori's on this call as well, and her and I both chuckled in the very beginning of the first week of isolation. We were exhausted because we were in 8 to 10 Zoom meetings a day. Why were you exhausted? Because all that great energy that you normally give to somebody else in person is being given to a computer that's not giving it back. You're dumping your energy into inanimate object that can't relate and give you warmth back. And that's why we feel so drained. And that kind of goes back to that whole Zoom analogy I shared with you earlier. This is kind of my message. If you take one thing away today, choose and be conscious of your ways of interacting and turn them into connection. You know, don't text or email me, pick up the phone and call me, because I would love to hear your wonderful voice. The other reason why there's this evolution of loneliness, there's a great video I didn't have time to share, but we start out being nursed by our mothers, right? on her breast. And then we share ice cream cones with our dad or a brother or a sister, or we're sharing French fries with our team because we just won, right? And then the next thing you know, we're adults. We're sitting at our office desk eating lunch by ourselves. We've lost the true sharing that and connection that goes with sharing a meal or running through the fast food drive-through. One, I think, of the greatest things that have come out of this pandemic is the fact that I'm hoping that so many families are sitting down to share a meal and sitting down to sharing connection. Such an important experience. Yes, I will share that video. I can email that to you, Raina. Yeah, that's a great video. It's one of my favorites. So, and I used to be in sales and was a very, thank God, a successful salesperson. But the reason why I was successful, if I like somebody, I took them out to lunch or dinner. Why? Because I wanted to get to know them as a person. And when you share a meal, you're sharing a common experience. Relationships are built on common experience, and it builds trust. Even having a cup of coffee with somebody. When you go to meet somebody in your office on a business deal, your conversation is what? 99.9% about business. But if you had that same experience over a meal or over a cup of coffee, all of a sudden it opens up the whole option to talk about so much more than business. You talk about family, you talk about the ambience of the restaurant or the wonderful taste of the coffee. You're sharing a common experience with the coffee or the food. It expands the whole conversation to build trust and community. And I'm so happy to see the power of breaking bread come back. I hope families continue that moving forward and don't take it for granted only during this pandemic. It is such a great way to be truly connected and to spread love. This is probably, it's kind of like technology is slowly creating this isolation and we don't realize it because we're becoming dependent on it. We can be so efficient. I don't have to leave my house. I work from home. I conduct all my coaching clients on webinars. I can get my groceries, my clothing, my pharmaceuticals. I can work at home. Or if I do go out, I can use self-checkout. You never need to leave the house. And what does that do? I'm home with all my toys and no one to play with. And you're isolated. It's like you can technologize yourself down to isolation into depression. And that's not good. And my point being is connection's not always going to be efficient and convenient, but you need to do it. You need to get out of the house, run an errand, take a walk in nature, pick up the phone and call your mother. I call my parents every day during this time, and I've done it even before this. Smile at someone you don't know. Spread your energy. I think the best way, if you're feeling isolated during this time or ever and feeling alone, the best thing you can do is to give of your heart. I know the first couple times it may be difficult because you're feeling so rotten, but if you can just bake some cookies and give them to neighbors, let someone go ahead of you in line. Send someone I'm thinking of you card, but just sharing a smile or doing an act of kindness for somebody you don't know and getting out of yourself will help with your feeling of isolation because you're going to start feeling connected to that person you don't even know. So make somebody happy. And then finally, in closing, not to get too deep, but I do want to address this. As I shared in the beginning of my personal story, I held on to a secret that prevented me from truly connecting with my family. And because of that, feeling ashamed and feeling broken, I felt like I could only share the perfect side of myself with people. So I was only half connecting, which limited my joy as a person and limited my relationships. But once I accepted what had happened in my life and I started telling the truth and I started exposing the broken side of myself too, I realized I don't need to be perfect to be loved, and I have more connection and love because I'm imperfect. So in summary for today, choose human connection over picking up the phone, break some bread virtually, remember connection's not efficient or convenient, get out of the house, do an act of kindness, make somebody smile, and then share your story, secret or truth, or begin to share your story with somebody you trust. So I will get to your questions in just a second. I please encourage you to follow me on the Power of Connection on Instagram, the Kimberly Connection Company on Facebook. For those of you, I'm really passionate about helping you through this isolation epidemic. If you email me at kcc@kimberly-lane.com and mention child help, I'm very happy to spend a lot of time on the phone with you, and let's put together a plan that helps you get through this isolation, or maybe help you managing a loved one that's struggling, and we can put some action steps moving forward. And then finally, third, you can get my book, which talks about my journey to being connected and how you can be better connected in your relationships, called Connections Change Everything. And then finally, my latest announcement is I am going to have my own TV show called The Power of Connection, which should air starting midsummer through Jewel TV. But if you connect with me through Instagram, The Power of Connection, you'll be able to find out all about when it's going to air and be able to join those episodes. So, all right, I'm going to stop sharing, and I hope I just didn't run through that too quick for you all. But let's open up for any questions. Let's see. Anybody have any questions or comments or anything they want to open up and share about how they're feeling? What are you doing today to stay connected? Share with the audience any unique things that I haven't suggested that help others feel connected. Would love to hear your own thoughts.
I have to say that being the older end of the millennial generation and traveling the world for a good portion of my life, I definitely do struggle picking up that phone and, making the calls. I'll text, I've always kind of been, I'll text and keep in touch until I'm in town again, and then we'll hang out, because I've never been like a phone person. But this time's actually forcing me to be more of a phone person than I was before.
Excellent. Good. I guess, and also too, do you notice a difference when you get off the phone with somebody versus when you text somebody? Do you feel the energy exchange? Do you feel different?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think, depending on how busy I am, I'm, like in this last couple of weeks leading up to this event, I was usually FaceTiming my mom and grandma, making sure everything was okay. And instead now, because we've been so busy, and after Sunday it'll go back to FaceTime, but I've just sent them these little animals that follow your face, and I'll like send them a little message that says good night, I love you, and like the little shark moves around or whatever. But yeah, it's not the same as connecting and having a good FaceTime chat and really knowing what's going on with them. It's just a one-way message, right?
Yeah, I think it's that what I have a problem with like texting or emailing is you're sending it out there to the universe, but you don't know how they're going to respond. And like, I don't mind texting to say, okay, let's chat at 3, or I'm running late, or let's meet over here. And then with the intent of truly connecting in person or over the phone. But when someone tries to have a really long conversation with me over text, it gets complicated because you can't read their body language, their eye contact, the tone of their voice. So you kind of start misinterpreting possibly, or take offense, or you don't know what the intention is, right? It gets kind of convoluted and messy, right?
You can even like start answering one, but then another message came, and then you're like, I meant to the one before that. So
right. You've already started your response because you thought they were mad at you, but in reality they were telling you a joke or whatever it was, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I've always been, I agree with you. And the COVID time has been a little tough in that situation because, like, again, I used to travel the whole world for a living. And so I kind of would just say, hey, I'm going to be in town in 2 more weeks. I'll see you then, and then I would just wait until I saw that. And then I could be super present wherever I was in the world with those people. But now, again, I'm having to get more used to the phone, but like you said, we don't connect the same on Zoom, even though there are some benefits. Like I said, it's cool to be able to connect with the thought leaders instead of from the stage and the audience, or vice versa.
Yeah.
But, and And I hope that this time is just, it connects us in a way that we can, when all this is done, get together in person, start having these dinners. You're down in Orange County, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm down in Orange County all the time.
Oh,
So once
awesome.
this is over, we'll have to get all together.
Break some bread for sure. Yes, yes. I think, for those families that were working, they both, husband and wife were working, the kids were going to sports constantly, and they were passing in the house and not really sharing meals or having time to connect. I'm really hoping that this was really good for their family time. And I think just for relationships in general, I kind of chuckle because in China, obviously it's the COVID-19's over, but now everybody's lining up to get divorced. So it's like, it's either going to bring families and relationships together. You're either going to realize you spent this time and you worked through stuff and got closer and connected, or you realize, oh my gosh, I do not want to spend another day with this person. I'm out of here. So there's going to be no more gray. If you were hiding from your spouse that you were smoking, they know it now, right? Or if you were having an affair, they know it now, right? So the reality of the situation will come through, and I'm really hoping that more of us find better connection because we're sharing experiences, we're cooking, we're in the same house, we're playing games at night, we're singing together, we're doing music videos, that stuff is really a bonding time that only makes them stronger in the relationship, in their family. That's what I'm really hoping that comes out of this.
I do have to say, right now I'm up in Los Angeles, and before COVID-19 hit, I didn't even know there were kids in this neighborhood. And now I see families out like on bike rides. I see them playing basketball in the driveway because they're not at all their organized events.
Exactly.
That they're home together. I'm like, kids live here? I didn't even know we had kids in this neighborhood, right?
Exactly. Now you can have, like, we get out at usually 5 o'clock, everybody pours a glass of wine. We're all in our driveways, but more than 6 feet apart, but we're having our little happy hours on Friday nights, which is kind of fun. And that's like, I never had really those kind of conversations with my neighbors before. I was kind of at most driving, while they were back out of the driveway, I was waving, right? But that was the extent of it. But it's an interesting time. I hope we all remember the connection and the goodness and focus on that when we're out of this, and try to carry it forward. I would like to see that happen.
I would like to see that too. I think hanging out on the front porch is something that we haven't seen since, the 50s. One of my clients was saying she's kind of gone back to the 50s because now she has a milkman and she has this, and she, sits out on her porch and talks to her neighbors from their porch, and I'm like, well, I hope we do end up keeping some of these things in society, because there's been a shift, and we can go for better or for worse. We can use this all to, these were the parts that were really good about that shift, and let's bring them into real life now, take it off the digital. And like you said, really connect with each other deeper. So maybe this is going to wake us up to, we were phone zombies before, like just.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I think I just envision that everyone's going to be throwing their technology or putting their technology aside and running out and hugging everybody in the street, just to be around each other and just to connect and have coffee or whatever. So it's an interesting time, but I think we'll be stronger once we get through this. And if we take the good stuff out of it and carry it forward, we will. So
definitely.
So I wanted to say in closing, again, thank you for attending today. Your sponsorship has done wonders for child health and helping to address the increasing incidence of child abuse during this time. So thank you for that. If you can, I guess the recordings will be available on the website at wellnessfair.org. And then please return to the main room after this to find out what's next on the schedule. But I want to thank Serena and Wellness Fair and Well Corona for this opportunity to share with you an important message about connections change everything.
Absolutely. And I look forward to meeting you all when this is all over, and we'll go have a big group hug and go to dinner.
Yay. Great. Bye.
Great. Thanks, Kimberly.
Bye. Thanks, Lori. Thanks. I love yoga.